Salvete omnes, amici et amicae, ec Xaverius Wester, ex Viva Voce Classics. This is Javier from Viva Voce, and today I bring you a video, a slightly special video on this occasion, on the materials that you can use if you want to build up your spoken Latin, and things like idioms, vocabulary for everyday actions and things. Where can you get that kind of vocabulary? If you would like to know, stay and watch this video in full. See you. So, if you're a follower of this channel or you see me any of my posts on social media, you will know that this channel is normally about spoken Latin. Today I wanted to do a video exclusively in English, but it's just for a reason of clarity, perhaps for those, especially those of you who are still getting started in spoken Latin. I wanted to talk about 3 resources which I use normally to build up my lessons and regularly with my students, that you can perhaps find useful for yourself if you are somebody who is, like I said before, introducing yourself or getting introduced in this world of spoken Latin, speaking Latin. So oftentimes you may wonder, how can I get the kind of vocabulary that I need to talk about daily actions, daily routines? I've recently done a couple of videos on daily actions. There is a lot of vocabulary that we need on a daily basis, and perhaps is not the kind of vocabulary that regularly or recurrently you find in text or in school books, if that's where you're working while you're learning your Latin. By the way, if you're interested in learning Latin, just so you know, I have a teaching course, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below. I normally arrange both one-on-one lessons and as well as group lessons, so if you would like to know more about that, just subscribe to that website that I'll leave on the description, and I'll be in touch with you by email as well. So, how can you get to know more about idiomatic expressions in Latin? Where can you get that kind of information from? Okay, so there are mainly 3 things that I want to discuss in this video. The first one is this book. It belongs to the series of the Osborne series. They have these books for different languages, not just for Latin. It's called The First 1,000 Words. In this case, it's in Latin. You may find it as well for other languages, English, Spanish, etc. What I like about that textbook, or it's more than a textbook, it's just an image book, is the visual aspect of it. You find loads of stuff, of images that you can relate to different topics. So what you do in the park, what you find in the park, for example, what can you see in a farm, what is there within a house. So it's arranged pretty much by semantic or topic fields, which is something I quite like, because then you can relate the words that are there together and exploit that in different activities, create sentences, write stories or tell stories departing from the images. So it's quite useful in that regard. The second, so what I would highlight about the first 1,000 words in Latin is probably the visual aspect of it. Is what I really like the most. You can make that vocabulary into flashcards as well, and it's vocabulary which is topic or semantically related. The second resource that I wanted to share with you is Assimil. This is a bit of an old one, and by the way, I do not get any sort of bonification or financial aid from this video, just so you know. I'm just talking about what I normally use for my lessons, what I've found over time that has worked for me. But by all means, if there are other listeners of this channel or the audience who are used to other resources and you would like to leave them in the comments below, I'd love to hear from them, and also other people coming to this channel might find them helpful. So by all means, please do leave any other resources that you do find as well on the comment section below. So Assimil is an audio oral method. It's meant to work based on repetition of the dialogues that are included in the book. It's based on a number of chapters. It's quite a bit of a thick book, and every chapter introduces a situation and a chunk of grammar. What I like about Assimil is first of all this fact that it brings the Latin into little chunks, and that they are sort of arranging kind of colloquia, dialogues, short conversations between 2, sometimes 3 people, and the vocabulary will just naturally come up in there. So it's something that is very useful for representation, to bring it into a stage, or not even a stage, just into a simulated conversation with other students who you may be learning Latin with. And also it's mostly an audio oral method, meaning you do have recordings. What I've just shown you here is the textbook, where you can find the dialogues. But if you buy the Assimil series, it will come along with a CD disc in which you can find the recordings for each of those dialogues. So that is something that you can be working on your car, on your way to work, if you take the car, or on the public transport, whatever. You can just get those audios stored in your phone perhaps, and listen to them as you go, or basically when you're doing any other kind of normal activity that doesn't require much concentration from you. So that's a good thing about the Assimil method. Is an audio oral. You mostly learn by hearing to those dialogues, and then yes, there is a short presentation of the content of the lesson, the vocabulary and the grammar for each of those little chapters. The book, as I have it, is published in French. So of course the dialogues are in Latin, but all the explanations and the translations for those sentences are in French. I know there is also a German version of it, so it's not really in that sense I would if you know about comprehensible input, that kind of thing, is not exclusively, the language is not exclusively taught in Latin. You do have to resort to French or German for the translation of the sentences. But if you are somebody who's been working with Latin for a while now, I'm sure you will get along just fine with regards to the grammar, and the dialogues are quite they can be understood pretty quickly. So I quite like to use it in my lessons as well for that reason, and I create exercises around the colloquia here, which are great, I think. And the last book that I wanted to share with you, this is a proper textbook, is Forum. It's being developed by the Policy Institute. If you've heard of them, they have an institute in Jerusalem where they provide as well courses on spoken Greek, Latin, ancient Arabic and other languages. And on that book you can learn Latin exclusively in Latin. Is one of the things similar to Lingua Latina. I thought I would add Lingua Latina here, but it's not really perhaps the most suitable place, and Lingua Latina is probably much more widely known than these three other books that I'm mentioning. But Forum has a particularity with regards to Lingua Latina. It is similar to Lingua Latina in that everything is explained in Latin. Only Latin is exclusively used throughout the textbook. And it isn't just a textbook about vocabulary. It teaches the grammar and it teaches vocabulary as well, and it's a proper textbook. Like, you can have a full course on Latin by just following Forum. However, everything is tailored in such a way that you start from the basic levels, a bit like with Lingua Latina in a sense, and all the grammar and all the vocabulary, unlike Assimil, it is taught in Latin exclusively. I think they are preparing a second part to this, and what is different about Lingua Latina in that respect, I would say, is the fact that it's also mostly built around conversation. It's a textbook that both in the exercises as well as in the colloquia and the dialogues that are shown at the beginning of each chapter is tailored for it's not, the context is not that of the ancient world. It's not a textbook for people who want to learn Latin starting from an ancient context, but it's more for people who want to learn Latin for a conversational context on a, nowadays on a daily, you can find vocabulary about everything that you would do on a daily basis nowadays, from going to the gym, going to school, buying something or ordering something on a restaurant, that kind of thing. Of course, most of the vocabulary, just like it happens in Assimil, has been borrowed from ancient sources, but it's used in current situations, in daily situations and situations that are based on reality nowadays, not 2,000 years ago. So I think for that reason, it's a good advantage if what you're looking at is, or you're looking for, is a method that can teach you Latin that you can use on a daily basis to talk and to refer to things that you would do nowadays, not so much things in the ancient world. Now, a little caveat that I do have for all of these resources is that, of course, they are going to be very useful towards building your vocabulary for daily routines. not so much perhaps towards building your vocabulary as it comes, your vocabulary for reading ancient texts. A lot of those two vocabularies will overlap, but they are not the same thing. So if you want to know more about vocabulary that is tailored for reading ancient sources, that is sort of attacking the nature of the vocabulary that comes up in ancient text, I recommend that you also work with a list of frequency vocabulary, which is something I've done a bit of work on my blog. If you want to have a look as well, I'll leave another link on the description for that. But yes, it's good to have both approaches, I think, because by finding vocabulary and by finding situations where you can practice your Latin that resembles daily situations, that ensures that you will be able to keep speaking your Latin and using those structures that then you're going to find in ancient sources, and a lot of the vocabulary as well. So I hope that was useful for you. I didn't want to say much more in this video. Please, if you are new to this channel, help us a little bit by giving a thumbs up to help with the algorithm as well. And you can of course subscribe if this kind of content is useful for you. And just so you know, I mentioned it before in another part of the video, but I have as well spoken Latin courses, both individual courses and so one-to-one lessons, as well as group lessons. So if you would like to register for one of my trial lessons where you can know about what the course looks like, what it is, the nature of the teaching, etc., you can do that by following and clicking the link that I'll leave in the description. So that will be all for today. I hope to see you all again on the next video. Curate ut valeatis, valete bene.